Eyes and eyes to all of you great American dads out there, the mothers of your children, and of course, the ones who call you dad. That's what this is all about. Welcome to episode 6 of the Eyes and Eyes podcast. And the meaning of eyes and eyes, of course, the definition I created myself to help marketing and branding, the process as well as the driven desire in which someone or something is improved with direct intent and dedicated purpose. That's what this whole podcast is about, having dedication and purpose and improving things, especially you and all the dads. In a recap of last week, I went over the golden means in episode 5, meaning that there's a maximum and then there's a minimum, and the goal is to find that happy medium, that good spot right in the middle, not too high, not too low. You can be somewhere within the thresholds and be okay, but you're at that sweetest, best spot right in the middle. If you didn't watch episode 5, go back to that and watch that truck explode. That was at a Trek rally many years ago. They were testing it on the dynamometer, and they definitely exceeded, by far, the upper threshold. So that is some of the repercussions, and if you noticed, once you get past that red line, you got a lot of emergency services jumping in to help fix that problem. So avoid going too extreme on any topic, anything. And again, when you have so many different priorities in your life, you've got to take the upper and lower thresholds on each one, merge them together. Have you seen those circles with the colors? And it's like red, green, blue, and then it shows the different colors within those little curvature triangle spots. I mean, it's kind of like that, trying to stay right there in that center spot. It is so tough with all of the different priorities, requirements, and activities of our lives. But keeping that in mind will certainly help you balance so that when you get a little too far to one color, you can pull it back to another color, or try to keep it as neutral as possible. The other thing we talked about was the 3 requisites. And those are basically the 3 laws that I had in my gymnastics facility. The most simplest rules. So if you broke these, you knew something was hurting. 1, don't hurt yourself. 2, don't hurt others. And 3, don't let others hurt you. And having a great spatial awareness is the way you do that on all 3 of those. I've often told my kids, if you want to just look intelligent, all you have to do is pull back your shoulders, lift up your chin, and move your eyes around. Look at what's there. Observe what's there. Then you can analyze and decide which way to go, who to talk to, who to avoid. And it really does show a sign of intelligence. It doesn't take much. You don't even have to say anything. In fact, when you do say something, that's often worse than saying nothing at all. So, I don't remember which quote it was. I believe it was a Benjamin Franklin, but I'll have to look it up, and I'll correct myself if I'm wrong in another episode. But it's better to keep your mouth shut than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I do believe that's a Benjamin Franklin. Again, that's just a paraphrase. On another note, I was doing some research for U.S. dads, and I came across something that let me know that my slogan, U.S. dads, and the statutes, and our slogan, make laws legal again. It is so true. I came across the Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 25-103. I mean, I've always looked at 25 because that pertains a lot to the family court systems and the laws as far as the court needing to deal with families, but I've never read 103. Everything else that I've had to research and be concerned with was a little bit further down into the 3s and the 5s and into that section, not the 103s. But it says A, and this is a law. This is an actual Arizona law that I am just stoked about. It is declared that the public policy of this state, Arizona, and the general purpose of this title are 1, to promote strong families. 2, to promote strong family values. I am so excited that what we are doing is not just out of the goodness of our hearts and the wishes for things to do better, but an absolute reason to enforce the law. I never saw it that way. I am so proud of Arizona for having Arizona Revised Statute 25-103. It makes this podcast, it makes U.S. Dads and the Dad Mag so much more important. I don't want to say we're law enforcement, but we're definitely law encouragement. Okay, the goal process. Step 5. Okay, we're going to skip around a little bit because step 5, obviously I've skipped 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, even though that was counted down backwards with my fingers. Okay, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. How's that? That's a little bit more appropriate. Okay, step 5. This is education for mentors, but it goes a little bit more along with what I was talking about last week. It kind of goes along with the 3 requisites, particularly in how do you work with others? How do you associate with others? As I said last week, there are people out there who have what you need. There are people that you will require to have their grace, to have their permissions. All right. Within step 5, I have a couple of bold sections, and one of them is titled Nice Things to Know. And it's not about, nice things of knowing things, but it is along the lines, and I'm just going to read it verbatim out of the book because I say it better in word than I probably will in verbal. Okay, so nice things to know. Throughout the goal process, there is no explicit requirement to be nice to others. However, it is crucial to recognize that your actions have consequences. As per Newton's law, where there's an action, there's an opposite and an equal reaction. Remember last week I said there are things to act and things to be acted upon. And you are something that can act. Everyone else is something that can act, which means you also become something to be acted upon. People need you. People will see that you have a quality, an attribute, or an asset that they can leverage. And that's not a bad thing, because you do the same to them. It is required in order to achieve so many of our goals, which means we've got to get a little political with each other. Why do I like this person? Why do I not like this person? And I said last week, if this person has transgressed me in one way or another and they need my help, I'm going to second think that, and most likely, probably not. And it's not that I'm being mean. It's just that I'm being respectful to myself quite often when I tell someone else no. And learning those boundaries for you is such an important thing. And we kind of get over some of that in the previous steps that I've skipped over. However, I do give, this is within those golden means. You've got to keep that right there in line. Always remember the golden means. If you choose not to be nice, don't expect others to reciprocate kindness, which may impact your ability to achieve your goals. When you are not nice to somebody, they also have that right to say no. And it is within their boundaries and their rights to do so. And the worst thing we can do is disrespect that right. Because then it turns not from a denial, but then it turns into a potential enemy. Or if you stroke the wrong person wrong, a vindictive person, then it just becomes additional trials as they watch you jump through hoop to get what you need. And they relish in that pleasure because eventually you'll get what you need and it expires. It's definitely not a joy in denying somebody for the sadistic reasons of watching them go through additional trials. But, there's a little bit more to that. Again, looking beyond the big picture, when somebody does do that to you, it just takes you back to another step of the goal process of research, study, and learn so that you can find other options, other remedies, because there are some relationships that are not repairable, obviously. That's why we have the court systems. We just need to keep them following the law. That's the only problem. I love the laws, as I said earlier, especially 25-103. I love that law. Even individuals who are generally nice have their limits. I know I have my limits, and the majority of the time I'm such an easygoing, very giving person. But there will be times if needed that I would stand my ground. Not very often do I have to, but it is. But most of that was within business. When I had the gymnastics club, every now and then there was a customer, a client, who would come in and say, I paid so much money. I deserve to have this and this and this and this. I was like, you know what? I've got 1,500 other accounts that paid the same amount of dollars, and they don't request this and this and this and this and this. You are becoming a little absurd. You are beyond what the negotiation of payment was. And there have been moments where it has been requested for clients to no longer be a client. And I still see this in some of these small chain restaurants, and I love it. Absolutely love this. We have the right to refuse service for any reason. It is true. When you go to a store, you're not just talking to a big business owner sometimes, you're talking to an individual. They may be representing the business, or they just may be looking there for $1 for the hour. So it doesn't really help to be so entitled as to demand more than everybody else. And that kind of gets into the selfishness, which was talked about previously before. Okay, so I'll continue reading a little bit more from the book. Courtesy from a certain perspective can be viewed as a selfish act. Remember to think of yourself first. That's why rule 1 of the prerequisites is don't hurt yourself. Who's most important? You. If you are hurt, you need help. If you are not hurt, you may be able to help someone else. But without that prerequisite of being healthy and capable, you are helpless to others. So there's that big aspect in that. So you need to start being selfish. Have you ever been on an airplane and heard that spill about, the things come down, and if you have a child with you, put yours on first and then put it on the child? Well, that's because you do have to make sure that you're not hurt to have the ability to help the others. That is such a big deal. I actually do talk more about that in another section of the book in much more detail. Yeah, recognizing that you require assistance or cooperation from others, treating them respectfully becomes a strategy to encourage them to go out of their way to create a mutual benefit. Becoming a mentor, another chapter, we talk about what it's like. Why will somebody go out of their way for you when obviously they have stuff and you don't, and you need it? So the way you work with others is such an important deal, and that's what I love about the goal process. It's not just 11 steps on a piece of paper. There's a lot of political strategy and concepts in how to work with others. And majority of the time, I believe most people can work very well with each other. I mean, there is competition, there is limited resources on particular things, and it does have to get aggressive, particularly in business. And sometimes you do have to, compete with one another. That is a natural fact of life. However, like we're in the political season right now. I have seen where political candidates within a particular single party, and it's both parties, don't worry, and maybe even some of the smaller ones that I just don't know about. But in their primaries, they will sit there and they'll combat each other, and criticize each other. It's like, dude, you're on the same team. Why? Well, you're hurting yourself against the bigger opponent over there. Don't. But most of the time, the winner of the primary is still able to work with the people who previously criticized them. So there are ways to still be combative, as long as it is within means and respect. You can still create that person who is your opponent as a future ally. However, we've also seen where they combat each other so much that even after the primaries, one person either leaves that party or totally condemns that candidate the rest of the campaign, and if they win, the rest of their duration of that term. And it really depends on how do you wish to treat people. And it's okay to be competitive. It's required. In fact, it helps you set a lot of goals. As long as your goal isn't to beat the other person out of spite, but to win because you know you're good. There's a big difference in that. All right, and I kind of mentioned a little bit of work, and I said in episode 5. I'll talk about that in another episode. I may as well be this one. I say that I showed the picture of the guy laid all back in his chair. All these things are urgent to get done. And he's on the phone chatting and laughing away, not getting his work done. It's like, well, yeah, I'm spending my time at work, but what am I doing in that time? Am I actually working? One thing I did in my gym, this was mostly particular with the team girls, is they were there specifically to learn a routine and to compete. And I worked in several gyms previously, and I continued to analyze what are their processes. Because when you're a beginner gym and you have like no team, you're trying to get established, you've kind of got to emulate the people who have been there before. Whether you like them or not, whether you agree with them or not, you have to know them. So you do study them out. You look into what are they doing, how are they doing it. And, some of the things I started emulating, and I realized that a lot of the coaches, well, their team girls, even at a low level, would be required 6 to 12 hours of practice a week. Okay, what are you doing in those 6 to 12 hours? Stretching, warm-ups, exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, get stronger kind of stuff, get more flexible kind of stuff. But then when they would get good and go up to the next level, well, now it's 8 to 14 hours a week. Oh, and then you get better. Well, I guess now it's 12 to 16, maybe 18 hours a week. Who knows? Depends on the gym and the level and the dedication. But every time you spend another hour per week, I saw some of the best gymnasts get priced out of something that they were so good at just because that was required. And I was like, I really don't like losing my best gymnasts because of money. If I want to look like a better coach, I need to find a way that makes it possible for them to be just as productive, progressive, and skilled in lesser time that they've proven to still afford. So I actually only limited my lower levels to 4 hours a week, which is half of what everybody else was doing at that time. And my upper levels, I only limited to 8, which is still half. If you're 16, 18, 20 hours a week, that's still half. Because I took into the concept that they still have school. They still have church activities. They still have, the Boys and Girls Club. Or they still have all these other things going on in their lives. And when one sector gets so large, they have to subtract it because you can't include the pie of time. So I actually, instead of putting a minimum, I put a maximum. I said, when you come here, we're going to take these routines and we are going to practice them strictly. If you want to get more flexible, guess what? You have 6 other days a week. You have, I don't remember how, 1,400 hours, 14,000 hours? I'd have to look. Anyway, you have so many hours of your own time. If you want to watch TV, you can still do stretches. If you need to do homework, I used to do homework and exercise at the same time. So I know it's possible. And in fact, what that does, that increases the corpus callosum inside your brain so that the left brain and the right brain work together, and actually you have a greater retention. It's like when there's a bunch of traffic on a road. Now, if you open up more lanes of traffic, it can flood. You get rid of that line of traffic so it's not blocked up and it's not stragglers of information behind. You actually get to retain all that when you stimulate the brain even more. So I would encourage them to have the extracurricular activities. But when they came into the gym, it was time to work. It was time to say, nothing from my school life comes in. Nothing of this, other aspect, boyfriend, girlfriend life, whatever, religion life. During these 2 hours today, only thing that matters is this. And if I want to improve this outside of these, it is absolutely my prerogative. And it helped them learn how to set goals. It learned them how to set better priorities and scheduling of their time. And I saw so many of my gymnasts actually become top grade students because of that concept. And we didn't burn them out. We didn't exceed that threshold, which is why the golden means is such a big deal. And that's all about work. Work actually isn't the time that you put into something. It is the distance from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. And usually in science concepts, work is the difference of height. So if you're pumping water up the hill, the work is we got to raise this water 10 feet. So that's the work. It's not the water, it's not the 10 feet, it's the movement of it from one to the other. So to close this out, we have a couple closing quotes regarding work. This one is from Khalil Gibran. I hope I say that right. A little knowledge that acts is worth infinitely more than knowledge that is idle. It really doesn't matter what you know, don't know. But if you're not doing, you're not getting anything done. So all that information is worthless. I have been to a room. It was kind of a library room. And it was somebody in the law profession. And his desk sat in front of a huge bookcase. And these binds were 2 to 6 inches thick on every book. Just floor to ceiling. All these books of law. And you know, such big binds, you could read that in bold letter, what the title was. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of knowledge. And he says, yeah, it'd be nice if I got to read them someday. So all of that knowledge was essentially worthless until you do something with it. This next quote is by George Bernard Shaw, and he says, just do what must be done. This may not be happiness, but it is greatness. Yeah. I would like to add a little bit more to George Bernard Shaw's comment, and that it's not just do what must be done, but do it with pride. It's your time, regardless of if you like it or not. Do it to the best of your ethic. And, you know, for you dads out there, that is something your kids will see. Dad had to do dishes, but he did it so well. Dad had to go clean the bathroom, but he did it so well. You know, Dad had to take out the garbage and it spilled on him, but he did it without complaint. So not only do what must be done, do it with the best intent, eyes those littlest tasks, and your reputation will excel with much less effort. It's just control this and the attitude put here, and you're much better off. In the meantime, even after election season, make sure you're registered to vote. That is your voice. That is the one that you've got here in this country, and we love this country. We love the freedom that we get to express our voice. And again, voting is the number one way to express that, even in a silent manner. Go to usdads.org, create an account, join the email list so that you can get the updates of what's going on, the progress. You can get a copy of the Dad's Mag when it's released. And of course, they're on the front page. Make a donation. It takes a lot of money to influence these laws. Even though they are already laws, it still takes a lot of marketing, a lot of getting on the phone with representatives to make sure that these laws are being applied and followed. So if you have any questions, concerns, complaints, comments, leave them down below. And remember to eyes and eyes, believe greatly, achieve greatly. And again, I gotta warn you, my cat is here by my feet. He's prowling. So I don't know if he's gonna jump up on the table like he sometimes does. I'll try to get him on the view if he does, but otherwise, these are starting to go at the bloopers reel at the end of my videos because he's consistent on this. What cat? You wanna climb up? You wanna get in my lap? No, he's funny that way. Okay, well, the 3 requisites again was 1, don't hurt yourself. And the little princesses in the gymnastics club knew that they did not want to. Don't! You know not to do the carpet. He's a punk today. Okay, back to the 3 requisites. of make laws legal again. There goes the cat. Holy moly, it's like a dog chasing a rabbit, or one of those dog hounds at the racetrack where it's trying to chase that thing around the track. All right, now where was I? That cat. All right, I need to go spray the cat. All right, that little punk is tipping over his water dish.